All right, so this is page 7. We're going to talk about pyramids. All right, so again, your objective is to find the lateral area, surface area, and volume of prisms. And again, a prism can have a different base. It depends on whatever base you're looking at is going to determine what formula you're going to use. Most of the time, your bases will be a square or a rectangle, but it could be something like a hexagon, which is a 6-sided figure. All right? And so again, you're going to have a new edge in a pyramid, and we call this a lateral edge. So what you should notice within your pyramid is that you've got this nice right triangle, okay? And the bottom, it's made up of an altitude, which is your height, and a lateral face, which is what you would also call a hypotenuse. So your lateral edge here is also what we call a hypotenuse. And so to find the hypotenuse, you should notice that your altitude is also A, and your side down here is B, right, or your base. So A squared plus B squared is going to give us C, which is our hypotenuse. It looks like tripotenuse. There you go. All right, so think about that, because to find your slant height, which is also called your lateral edge, that's going to equal C in a right triangle. Okay, so let's remember that. And when we're talking about it, slant height in a pyramid, we give it the symbol L. All right, so the lateral area of a regular pyramid is half the product of the perimeter of the base and the slant height of the pyramid. So in order to find, you're going to have to know what pyramid is, what P, which is perimeter, is, and L is your slant height. And a lot of times L will be found by using A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I'm just going to throw that out there. And the perimeter is add up the sides. All right. Now, to find the surface area again, you're going to need your base. And there's only one base in a pyramid because the top of the pyramid we call its vertex. So this is the vertex of your pyramid. So there's no area there. So whatever your base is, that's the area of that is what you're going to find. So in this case, it would be length times width. All right, so let's look at this problem here. We want to know what is the lateral area of the pyramid below. Well, we know that lateral area is 1/2 P times L. So the first thing we're going to have to do is figure out what is P. So P is going to be the perimeter of this base right here. And we know it's a square, and so it's going to be basically 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30. But since it's a square, you could also just do 30 times 4, which is 120. So our perimeter is 120. And then we need to find our lateral slant height. Well, we've got our height here, base here, and then we've got this slant height here. And this is what we don't know. All right. Now let's look at this as interesting. If all the way across is 30, that would be kind of like a diameter. Then halfway across, I know that this has to be 15. So I'm going to use A squared plus B squared to find my diagonal here. So to find L, I'm going to do 336.4 squared plus 15 squared. And then I'm going to take the square root of whatever I get. And let me just put this in my calculator. So 15 squared plus 36.4 squared equals 1,549.96. And when I take the square root of that, I get 39.4. So now I've got P, I've got L, now I can find my lateral area. So my lateral area is 1/2 times P, which is 120, times L, which is 39.4. And when I type all that in my calculator, I end up with 2,362.2. Okay. Now I want to know, what is my surface area? Well, my surface area is just my lateral area. What am I doing? Lateral area times my base. Well, in this case, I have to find B. Well, B is going to be length times width. So in this case, it's 30 times 30, which equals 900. So to find my surface area, is going to be 900, because that's my base, plus my lateral area, which is right here, 2,362.2. When I add both of those together in my calculator, I get 3,262.72. All right, so the last thing we can do is find our volume. So I'm going to look at the same shape and find the volume. All right, so volume equals 1/3 base times height. Well, I already found my base, and my base was, let's figure this out. My base was 30 times 30, which is 900. So B equals 900. And then I got to look at what my altitude is. So I'm going to look back at that picture again. Altitude, remember, is when you point straight up. It's your height. So in this case, my height is 36.4. You can see it right here, 36.4. If I didn't know it, I would use the inverse of the Pythagorean theorem, c squared minus a squared to find it. All right, so it's 36.4. So now I just plug these numbers in my calculator. So the volume equals 900, well, 1/3, times 900 times 36.4, and I get 10,920. And that's that. So you should be able to finish page 8 at this point. You've got your formulas, you've got examples, so you should have no problems. Moving forward, let's look at a cone. So a cone is very similar to a pyramid, except a cone is always going to have a circular base. And so when you're finding B in this case, please remember that your base is going to be pi r squared. The area is pi r squared. And then again, your vertex is at the very top. So unlike a cylinder, we only have one base. We don't have two. All right. And so the lateral area is 1/2 times 2 pi times r, which is the circumference, but 1/2 of 2 is just 1. So your lateral area is really just pi times r times L. And then to find the surface area of the cone, you just take the lateral area plus the base. And please remember that base is going to equal pi r squared. All right, so let's look at some examples. And again, if you're confused, you can go ahead and read through that. So we want to find the lateral area of this cone. So lateral area equals pi times r times that lateral edge. And so this right here is my L, right? And then my r is right here, so this is r. So I just type it in the calculator, literally, and you get 3.14 times 15 times 25, and all of that equals 1,177.5. Now we want to find our surface area from that same cone. So for surface area, you just take the lateral area plus the base. And so we need to find what the base is. So the base is pi times r squared. So this is 3.14 times 15 squared. And you end up with 706.5. So to find your lateral surface area, you're going to take your lateral area, 1,177.5 plus 706.5, and you should end up with 1,880 is your surface area. So the last formula I'm going to teach you is how to find the volume of a cone, and interestingly enough, a cone is actually 1/3 of a cylinder. So a cylinder was...
Alexis Stansberry, please come to the main office. Alexis Stansberry.
Base times height. And so a cone, actually 3 cones can fit in that. So a cone is actually 1/3 of a cylinder. So to find the volume of a cone, you're just going to take 1/3 base times height. And again, your base is pi r squared. So for example 3, first thing you want to know is volume is 1/3 base times height. So we need to figure out what our base is and what our height is. So let's go ahead and look back at the previous example. And you can see here that the base was pi r squared, which was 706.5. So B equals 706.5. And then what do we find our height to be? Well, let's take a look. Unfortunately, in this problem, we don't know h. So we're going to have to figure it out. Now, the interesting thing about this problem is that if we were to put this in the Pythagorean theorem, this is a leg. So h is actually A, and this is actually B, and this is C. So this would be 25 squared equals, 25 squared, which is C, minus 15 squared is going to equal h squared. So to find h, you've got to do 25 squared minus 15 squared, which is c squared minus a squared equals b squared in the Pythagorean theorem. When you do that, this equals 400. So you take the square root of 400 and you end up with 20. So now we know that the height right here equals 20. All right, so now I just plug it in my formula. So volume is going to equal 1/3 the base, which is 706.5, times the height, which we now found is 20. And when I multiply all that out, you end up with 4,710. All right, so now at this point, you should be able to finish page 10. And please be careful when you look at number 1, number 2, number 4, and number 5. They're giving you, in all those cases, they're giving you the diameter. So remember, you need half the diameter to get the radius. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to go through the rest of these problems and try to figure this out. So for number 1, I would call this a pyramid. And you can check your answers on page 15. So number 1, I would call a square pyramid. And that's all you need to do for numbers 1 through 10, is just name each figure. Okay. Now for 11, for the next page, you're actually finding the volume. So remember, you're going to have to page back into the formulas to figure out what the volume is. All right, then you're finding the lateral area. Again, you're going to have to page back, find the lateral area, and lastly, you're finding the surface area. The answers are there, but you need to find the formulas in the packet.